Hey guys, Sarah Eder here, your 7-figure raising capital coach, wealth mentor, and professional real estate investor. Tonight, we're going to talk about my 6-step framework to raising 6 figures in capital and attract money partners, even if you've never done a deal. That's real, guys. So before I get started, make sure that you click below on the link, follow so that you get all of the notifications, or follow my page so you'll know the next time we go live, which is every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are going to talk about raising capital, which is obviously my favorite topic. And we're going to talk about my exact system that I use to raise 7 figures in capital, having never done a deal in less than 2 years. I know that sounds crazy, guys, but I promise you, I am no magician. I have no crazy skills. I am just like you. I really just found a system that worked. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining. So yeah, really, we're just going to cover this system that I believe can work for anyone. You don't have to be a math genius. You don't have to be some sort of, expert in real estate per se. Really and truly, there's a very simple framework that you can follow that will have money partners coming to you, have a system that works consistently time and time again, and you don't have to have a massive portfolio in order to convince money partners to give you cash. You definitely do not need that. And I'm so confident in how this works. Like, I'm really passionate about giving this knowledge to you guys because I was in your shoes. I had no cash, no way to get mortgages, and I wanted a real estate portfolio. So what was I gonna do? I had to get JV partners. And it was a struggle. It was not a fun time. And if I can help you guys get to that 6-figure mark in 90 days and really accelerate the growth of your real estate portfolio, I want to take that pain away from you so that you can go and live your financial freedom dreams. Honestly, I believe every millennial like myself and everyone else deserves to have a portfolio. They deserve to have financial freedom. There's a reason, just because we're millennials, that we cannot have financial freedom. Hey, yeah, and let me know, guys, if you have any questions as I'm going along, feel free and I'll answer them for you. So let's get started into this framework. Again, it's something I'm really passionate about. It's something I derived myself because I found that a lot of the sales techniques and tactics that were out there just weren't working for me. They were too salesy, too old-fashioned, and they really didn't align with how I wanted to work with my partners. So I came up with my own type of system that really worked for me. And there's going to be a ton of systems out there. You really just have to pick one that works for you. But this one I found just, happened to really resonate and really stick. And the more you believe in something, the easier it is to talk about, right? So in this system, this is actually something I teach in my coaching program, and we go really into depth in terms of the scripts and every different step that you can follow to make this a reality for yourself. And again, I got my first 6 figures in capital in 3 months of doing this. So it's not crazy. It's not over the top. It definitely can be done. And how awesome would that feel, guys, that you can go out there, raise a bunch of capital, and just start buying properties. No more clicking on MLS, seeing good deals, and just thinking, oh, I don't have the cash. I don't have a way to get mortgages right now. You could just buy it. You can pitch this deal to your pool of JV and money partners ready to give you cash. That is the dream. That is how we make money in real estate. There's no way one person has all the capital, all the cash, all the mortgages in the world. We need to work with partners. So the better we get at that, the faster we can just scale and buy whatever properties we want that we think are going to be a great fit for our portfolio. Nothing is holding you back. And again, guys, this is for everyday people. I promise you, I'm not, this extraordinary, unusual person. You can 100% do this yourself. So let's start diving into the 6-step framework. It's a little conceptual, but I'm going to try to give you guys some real world knowledge that you can take today and even, practice trying to talk to money partners. So the first step of the framework is knowledge and expertise. So if you are going to give something of value to your money partners, you have to be an expert in something. Now, being an expert doesn't necessarily mean that you have to own 15 properties and have been doing this for 20 years, etc. It just means that you have to be really good at least one thing, and you can offer that thing as compensation for your JV partners giving you money, cash, or whatever it might be. It could be as simple as you being good at finding off-market deals. It could be that you're a contractor and you could do a lot of the sweat equity yourself. It could just be that you are really good at managing tenants and you love big multifamily buildings and that's, your thing. That's my thing. I actually have a lot of experience with property management and working with large buildings. So that's a lot of the expertise that I bring, that I'm good at finding tenants, keeping tenants, and ultimately kicking tenants out if I have to, and all the processes that go into managing a large building. But it could be so simple, honestly. It could be as easy as you just saying, hey, I have the time to go find a property, find tenants, I'm willing to learn, take a chance on me. Because honestly, when I first started, that's all it was. I had no track record, no properties to my name, but I was willing to work hard. I was willing to be gung-ho and learn whatever it took to get it done. And a lot of times that goes a long way. As long as you have some knowledge about something, whether it's rent to owns, flipping, buy and holds, whatever the case may be, as long as you have knowledge of that strategy, even if you've never done one or you've only done one or two, you can still say, hey, you know what? I have an awesome team of experts. They advise me. I get a lot of advice. I'm going to make sure that this deal goes off without a hitch. If you're enthusiastic and passionate and you believe in what you do, that goes an incredibly long way to you being an expert. And that's how you can position yourself as an expert. And that is step number 2, which is branding yourself and being someone that someone wants to give money to. A lot of this has to do with mindset. It means that you have to start getting confident with yourself and what you have to offer. You've never done a deal? Okay, but what do you have? You have enthusiasm, you have time, you have tenacity. You're going to stay up all night scouring MLS, finding the best deals possible. You still have something to offer. So you need to own that and you need to show that to your potential money partners. That becomes your brand. What your values are, what you bring to the table, and what you offer, that's the core of who you are as a person. And that's what your JVs really want to be investing in ultimately. Yes, they like that duplex, or yes, they like that flip. But more so, they like that their money is with someone that they trust, that they like, and that they've developed a relationship. That's why I always emphasize, this needs to be like win-win every time. This is not about you getting rich. It is not about you taking someone else's money. It is developing a partnership, developing a win-win connection, and always leading with your heart. I know that sounds like a little woo-woo for the finance people that are probably watching this video, but that is how I have sold the majority of my money partners. It was never a deal. It was never the money. It was all on who I was and the rapport that I built with my money partners. So keep that in mind, guys, that it's all about the relationship. You need to ask questions. You need to really get involved in their process, figure out what makes them tick, because that is what is going to make them choose you over someone else with a really slick spreadsheet and a suit. Because if you I don't like being sexist, but I mean, I'm like a baby face girl. I might be 30, but I look like I'm 22 and I know nothing. And I'm okay with that because there's a lot of people that have assumed that I don't know anything. But the minute I start talking about what I do and my passion and what I bring to the table, it's a totally different story. So don't be afraid that because you look a certain way or you feel a certain way that, all these people aren't going to take me seriously or, they're not going to want to invest with me. It's not the case at all. But you do need to know what you're talking about, have a clear sense of your brand, and learn how to make it win-win and about your money partners. If you guys can do that, you will close every money partner you come in contact with that was ready to invest. I promise you. Because if they don't, and you've used all those tactics, then they weren't ready to invest anyway. Because every money partner I've ever talked to, I've closed on the first meeting. The second meeting was literally to go over particulars and sign some paperwork. It's sometimes not always that simple. Sometimes it takes a few meetings, but for the most part, it is my integrity and my care about developing that relationship that really resonates and sticks with my investors. So again, guys, please feel free, ask me questions. I'm here live. So, anything you have, I can answer for you. Obviously, I'm going over these a bit broad. There's so many different parts to this that I would love to answer for you guys. Oh my gosh, my phone is falling. Hang on. Ooh. Okay, I'm a little crooked. Sorry about that. Okay, so the third step to this framework. Hang on, let me see if I can actually fix this. Technical difficulties. What happens? Okay, whoops. All right, are we good now? Kind of? Okay, hi. All right, the third step in this framework is how to find money partners, or more so a good systematic way of finding them consistently. There is no right or easy answer to this question. This is the one I get the most from all of my people that come to me, and for my students and my clients in my coaching program, we cover this really in depth, so many different strategies and ways that you can get this kind of rolling for you. The only easy way I can basically tell you guys about how to find money partners consistently is, number one, again, knowing who you are, what you have to offer, and being really strong in your brand, because that is going to help you identify who your ideal money partners are, where they hang out, what they do, what they like, and where you could potentially find them. So I know that's a little obscure, so let's do an example. So you are a flipper. So you probably need a lot of cash, maybe not always mortgages. Okay, so you need capital. Where do you get capital? All right, let's split this up into demographics. Who do we know that could potentially have a lot of cash lying around? Let's see, doctors, lawyers, dentists, chiropractors. Age demographic, probably a bit older, maybe in their 50s, RSPs, HELOCs, equity in their home, all these different things. All right, so now you need to start to brainstorm. Where do these people hang out? What do they consume? Like in terms of like media or groups or things that they like, because then you can really start to dial in on super creative ways to get in front of these people. And I'm talking like think outside the box. Friends and family are great. Referrals are awesome, but there are so many other ways. Have you thought about online? Have you thought about social media? Have you thought about Facebook? Have you thought about Kijiji? Have you thought about like going through like a list of like your local doctors and like hanging out? Maybe they have like a get together, a networking group. Go hang out with like a group of lawyers or something. Go to a gala. Just go to really creative places. And I know it sounds so weird, but honestly, it works. For me, one of my biggest things lately has been social media. People see what I do, they see what I have going on, and they're interested and they start reaching out to me. That's the end goal. That's the absolute best solution you can possibly have to your situation, is having joint venture partners come to you. But you gotta like put out the lines. You have to lay the seeds first in order for that to happen. And again, when I talk, I'm very clear, I do commercial, I do larger projects. People who want to flip probably aren't going to reach out to me and say, hey, Sarah, do you want to do a flip project with me? Because they know that's not really my style. I mean, I do flips, I can do them, but I'm much more interested in commercial. So I'm going to go target the JV profile I've created, who I think can give me the capital and the mortgage qualification necessary to buy, multifamily properties. But again, just get creative. Online, honestly, I think is such an underused tool to finding JV partners. If you think about it, you can go to a million networking events, but like you're going to burn out eventually. You can't go to all of them. So how else are you going to do this? There's a thing called email. There's a thing called like Kijiji. There's a thing called social media where you can just get out in front of hundreds and thousands of people on a daily and weekly basis. You just need to get super clear first on, what it is you have to offer and what that JV profile looks like. Because once that happens, it starts to become very clear. Sometimes it's like tough, like I said, like getting going, but just start shooting out emails. If you think like you want to go target a bunch of doctors, go for it. Their information's completely public. Send off some emails, go to some networking events that aren't necessarily real estate related. We, as real estate investors, tend to go to a ton of info sessions. But keep in mind, a lot of those people are already real estate investors. If you want solid capital raising money partners, you need to go where the money's at. So go find some other interesting networking groups. Some of the best ones are like local mastermind groups. There'll be a whole bunch of professionals all in a room together. So yeah, you can definitely go to like, they might have an entrepreneurial group or something for like professionals to network. Go hang out with people outside your comfort zone. Go hang out with some dentists, some lawyers. These people have money. They're usually very business savvy and they're a great pool to get JV partners. And again, I'm biased because I'm millennial, but I think that social media is just such a powerful tool. If you are not out there on a regular basis showing what it is you do, then how are people going to find you? If you don't have a website, if you are not at least like doing one piece of social media, pick one. Facebook, stick with it. If it's Instagram, stick with that one. Live video, show yourself at your latest project, talk about what you do, why you're passionate about it. Say that you're looking for money partners. I know that this sounds so silly, but if you are not asking for money and you're not asking for the sale, then they don't know. They're just like, oh wow, this guy has a really cool duplex that he's flipping. But if you're like, hey, like this is a great project, I have a bunch of leads on like another project down the street that I'm looking for, I'm always looking for partners. If you're looking to, maximize your returns and, kick the curb to those poor turns that your RSP is doing, I'd love to hear from you guys and anyone that's interested in partnering with me or at least learning how to invest. You gotta ask for the sale. Otherwise, they are never gonna know that you are looking to work with partners. It sounds simple, but it's a huge, huge factor. So then we're gonna move to the fourth platform or step in this process, which is literally the process. So if you are now, you're branding yourself, you found your niche, you now know where to, start actively finding money partners and get a constant flow of them coming to you. Now, what's the process? What do you do? And let me tell you, this happened to me early in my investing career. I was getting money and then I got it and had no clue what to do with it. I didn't know how to follow up. I didn't have any paperwork. I didn't have any systems. It's not a good time. Before you guys get into this whole system, you guys need to have like a process. You need to know how you're getting money partners and then what funnel do they go through so that you're going to retain them and make sure that they sign. Because I'm telling you, by the time you get an okay or an agreement from a money partner and then you sign on a dotted line on a property, that could be months down the road. How do you keep them in that funnel, in that loop? There's a process and you really need to get clear on what that is, even from like how you have conversations and book conversations and then follow up and all of that stuff in between. You need to have a system. Can you imagine if you had like 20 leads of, people coming to you every single week? Like, what would you do with them? Could you scale up that fast? That's what you need to be thinking about. Not just this one JV partner that you might get. Think positive. If you guys are really going to follow this 6-step framework, start earning 6 figures in capital, getting all these money partners and getting all these leads, you just start thinking ahead and say, oh my God, if I were to get that many leads, what would I do with them? And how can I automate the system to really scale this up? So I won't go through like the entire process because it is in depth. It is something that I do, with my clients in my coaching program. We work everything from getting a yes in person at like a networking event to literally signing on the dotted line. There's clearly a ton of steps in between, but I'll go over through like some of the major ones. So basically, you have to have a process for even when you're booking a meeting with a client. I know it sounds like counterintuitive, but it's really easy for someone to agree in person to have a meeting with you and then totally flake out later. So it's really good to have a good follow-up system. So when you're going through and you're persuasively speaking, and that's like a whole nother thing that you have to learn, is like how to talk to them, how to like speak on their level, how to speak persuasively. Once that happens, you need to book the sale. Again, if you guys don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. It's cute that you're having a conversation and you're chatting about real estate, but what's the end goal? It's to get them in a meeting. Even if they're kind of like lukewarm or you're not sure where they're at, book the meeting. Say, okay, you know what? I really enjoy this conversation. Like, how would you like to have like a little conversation about possibly working together, or, et cetera, et cetera. I'd love to chat with you. Can I have your card? Yeah, okay, cool. Here's my card. Excellent. You'll be hearing from me within 24 hours. We'll definitely set something up, and I'd love to talk to you about future opportunities. Boom. It's literally that simple, but you got to ask for it. That's the pace. That's the whole reason we're doing this. You guys have to get confident in asking for what you want. So then once you book that meeting, then there needs to be follow-up. You need to follow through. You said 24 hours. Make sure you do it within 24 hours. So there's email or a phone call. Book a proper meeting. I like to do a phone call before a meeting. And that's because if they're not serious, I don't want to waste my time driving all over the place, having some conversation where they're just going to pitch a bunch of objections at me and they never intended on investing with me in the first place. Have a quick 20-minute phone call with them. It's a really good way to set rapport, answer any preliminary questions they have if they've never heard of a JV, they've never done one. Then you lead them into an actual deal meeting. And by doing that, you get to, in the first phone call, build a rapport, ask them what matters to them, really like develop this relationship. Then you go in for the kill, which is for me, my investor package. So I already have a pre-made PDF package that I emailed to them that has tons of information, a bio on who I am, deals that I've done, how JVs work, what's expected of them. It's like this whole awesome package that I've put together. So that gets sent to them before our face-to-face meeting. So it already cuts out like a ton of objections. It saves me from having to explain so much stuff, and they already get the process. I don't have to like go back and backtrack and explain. They might have specific questions about the package, but now we can talk about numbers. We can talk about the deal. So then, you go into your meeting, keep it short, stay in control, show them the deal, go through the numbers, and then you get the yes or a no. So it's really important to do something called future pacing, which is to always prepare them for the outcome before you even start the conversation. Let them know ahead of time like what the actual like next steps are. You're like, okay, so by the end of this conversation, do you think that you'd feel comfortable, giving me a yes or a no? And it's really, really simple. It's not like pressuring them into doing anything, but it's just getting them to think about what is coming up next. That, oh, you know what? Like, they're serious about this. I'm taking up their time. If they want, if I'm going to sit here and go through this presentation, now I'm going to have to actually make a decision if I want to work with this person or not. And so then it comes to the end of the meeting and you follow through. You say, okay, so now that, we've gone through this deal and I've explained a little bit of how joint ventures work, how do you feel? Hi, Maria. Thanks for supporting me. You're the greatest. So yeah, it's pretty simple. You just have to always prepare your investors for what's coming up and then always go for the sale. You gotta ask for the yes, go for the sale. So if they say no, don't freak out. It's okay. You can easily just go back, set a second meeting, and always make sure there's a next step. If they say yes, awesome. You're good to go. Then you go into the next phase of this process flow. But if they say no, it's okay. It's usually I need to think about it, or I need to talk with my spouse, or I just need some more information. And if that's the case, then it's cool. Like, just set a next step. Say, okay, is it okay if I reach out with you next week and we can book another meeting with your spouse, or we can touch a base regarding this deal? I'd love to talk to you more about the info. Make sure there's always an actionable, oh hi, my cat's on my lap now. Make sure that there's always like an actionable next step that you're gonna follow through with. Because that no doesn't have to be a hard no. It could very likely just be a maybe. And a maybe is okay. A maybe still has a chance to be converted. I get a lot of maybes. I get a lot of like people on the fence, but with this, follow through in this process, you can easily change that into a yes by showing that you're a professional, that you care about them, and that you're offering them something of value. So now we're going to kind of flip this whole fourth pillar into the next because they go together. So the next step in the process is like, let's say that you get a yes. Well, now what's the next step? Keep in mind that like you can get a yes from someone, but you might not have a deal for another few months. So what do you do with that investor? So the fifth pillar of this step system to raising, a bunch of capital and attracting JVs is knowing the legal process. So this is something that a lot of people overlook, and I think it's incredibly important to know when you're doing JVs. Hi, this is Meredith, everyone, my cat. She likes hanging out with me. So the legal system is like knowing how to get them to commit on paper, and that's really important. It's not good enough to just have them say, yeah, okay, I want to, loan you $300,000 and I'm going to do a deal with you. It's not good enough. You need to get it on paper. So there's something that's called a letter of intent. And it is when, so now you guys have sat down, you're talking about deals, maybe you found a deal, you're ready to put the offer in. They sign a letter of intent. They say, okay, I'm committed to you for X and X and X and X, and whatever that is. It's this much money, this much financing, and all this other stuff. Because otherwise, I'm telling you guys, they will flake out. They're like, there's like shiny balls everywhere. They're like, oh yeah, I want to invest with you today, but tomorrow I could invest it in this, and this day I could invest it in this. If they have that much money sitting around, they're not just going to sit on it. They want to do something with it. So you better show that you're committed and that you are going to do something with it. They need to sign that letter of intent. When you get that under wraps, now you can go through the rest of the process. You put in the offers. I highly recommend doing due diligence on your partners. If you've never done a deal with them before, you don't really know them, I think it's really important that you get to know them. Like, do a background check, do a credit check, get them to meet with your mortgage broker. Like, just do something. Like, really make sure that their finances are where they need to be for this particular strategy or like this deal. Because the last thing is like, you're like, oh yeah, cool, like I trust them, life's great. But like, what if tomorrow you put a deal in and it turns out they fell through in the financing? You would feel like an idiot, and it would just not be a good situation for anyone. So it's really important that you have this process that you follow again and again and again. Okay, guys? So again, like this is something I go through with some of my clients. We have checklists that we follow to make sure that like all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and that you have everything in place that you need. So that's just a little bit about like the legal stuff. Obviously then there's like the agreement itself. And that's super comprehensive. I could do a whole hour-long conversation just on the JV agreement. But just know that before you go into this, you really need to meet with a lawyer, talk to other people that have done JVs before, get a couple templates and read through what it entails. Because they're comprehensive, they're crazy, and you know that your JVs are going to be asking you about it. You're going to be able to confidently say, okay, like this is what the process is like, and this is what is going to go into the JV. That's the question I get asked the most. It's always like, what happens in the paperwork? What if I die? What if I want to sell it? It's all the legal stuff, right? So you gotta know what goes into these things, and you have to think ahead of time. Like, who's going to pay for like the accounting? Like, you're going to have to do year-end taxes. Are you paying for that? Is the money partner paying for that? Who pays for the tenant stuff? Who pays for property management? What happens in this situation, in this situation, in this situation? You know, it's super, super important that you guys just kind of have a good feel for what's comfortable for you, have these templates, and then that way you can walk your partners through different situations. They might ask questions that you don't know, and that's okay. As long as you have a lawyer that knows those questions that you can direct them to, it's all part of that power team, right? And this is kind of like looping back to before too. It's like how you handle objections is really important because it really can demonstrate to them your expertise, your comfort, your knowledge. If they can knock you off balance by asking you a legal question, they might have agreed to give you money before, but they're certainly having second thoughts now. And it's the last thing you want this late into the process. You guys need to be prepared from A to Z so that all throughout this process, when they're throwing objections and things come up and they don't know about this and that and they have questions, you need to know what is going on and how this legal process works. So I know that I promise you guys that anyone can do this. You don't need to be a genius to raise 6 figures in capital. And honestly, you don't. But keep in mind that you at least need to have a power team that knows what they're doing, and you do need to spend a little bit of time learning this stuff. I am not an expert. I am not that great at accounting. When it comes to mortgage stuff, I'm pretty good, not great. And I'm pretty good about the legal stuff. But when I have questions, I call my accountant. When I have questions about mortgages, I call my mortgage broker. When I need to know about, a different piece of paperwork or something I'm thinking, I call my lawyer. It's okay. You don't have to be an expert. It's why we hire experts. It's why we have a power team, because we can't be everything. We need to be what we're good at, which is finding properties, finding tenants, finding deals, managing the flip. That's what we are good at. We need to know what's going on in the back end. But as long as you have a really, really good power team, you don't need to be an expert in absolutely everything that happens in the transaction. You just need to stay on top of what's happening in the transaction and at least kind of know the flow of how that goes. Does that make sense? So this is how you can do a deal without ever having done a deal. You have a good team and good mentors and resources to follow, then it's pretty simple from there. So the last step in the 6-step system. So if you guys are following along, I'm giving you a ton of really good tips so far, stuff that can literally, if you've never done a JV, you really want to try and, raise some capital, this is a really good foundation to work with. Because the last one is the follow-up. This is definitely the cherry on top. So the follow-up has to do with so many different things. It's the follow-up in terms of paperwork and communication and taxes and all that kind of stuff. But it's also how you communicate and your professionalism. Because keep in mind that one investor has a lifetime of at least 3 deals in them. So if you do a good job on one, you could potentially get another 2 to how many ever deals with this particular investor, plus referrals from friends and family and all this other stuff. So it's super important that you treat your investor well. Just because you got the property, now it's all right, cool, I have your money, peace out. It does not work that way. You need to be on top of it, and you need to treat these investors like gold, because they are. They are your way forward to your financial freedom. Now you're helping them. You're making them money. You're getting them awesome returns on their capital. But if you can't get a mortgage, these guys are your lifeline, and you need to treat them as such. So you need to figure out follow-ups, especially if they're really passive investors and they're not really involved in the project. You need to figure out how often they want to be communicated with. Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Is it yearly? And you better have a ton of things to show for it. You need to give them cash flow updates. What's happening with the tenants? What's happening with that flip project? You need to give them snapshots of how much has been spent so far. Personal letters, emails, phone calls, whatever that is, you need to figure that out. That is part of your follow-up, and it is so, so important to getting that multiple deal and also getting referrals from them. Then there's the thing from a business standpoint, that we have to start to think about this follow-up system, because if we don't have these systems in place, this can get overwhelming real quick. The point is that if you're doing a buy and hold, for example, at the end of the year, if they hold the mortgage in their name and they hold the title in their name and all that stuff, they need a lot of info for tax purposes. So have you been keeping a rental balance sheet? You're probably thinking, oh my God, like what's a rental balance sheet? It's a list of all the rents that have been collected, all the sources of rental income, including laundry or parking income. It includes all of the capital expenditures, what your property management has been spending, taxes, water, hydro, all those bills all put together in one thing, because they need to give that to their accountant. So their accountant can, whatever they're going to do with their rental income, that's their deal. But you have to provide them with all that info if you're like self-managing the property. Yeah, it's intimidating. It's crazy. If you're managing more than 10 doors, it's a lot. So it's definitely something that like you need to just like have a system. You need to have a process to doing this. My best tip is to use an awesome software like Buildium. I've used it before. It's a little pricey, but it's so worth it. It tracks rental income. It tracks expenses. It allows your tenants to request work orders. They can even pay for their rent through the system. And then because you're keeping everything in this little like software, you can then automatically populate reports like these cash flow reports and balance sheets. It's such a useful thing, because guys, if you want to be a mogul, if you're ready to start raising 6 figures, raising 7 figures, doing the whole deal, you need to treat it like a business. You're only one person. You can't be sitting there on an Excel spreadsheet all day long, entering in all this info. Although I highly recommend that if that's what you have to get going, do it please on a monthly basis. Keep track of your rents, keep track of your expenditures, keep track of the taxes, the hydro, the payments, just some little Excel tabs on a spreadsheet. It makes life so much easier. If anyone ever needs to know, you have it on a monthly basis. It's not even like something I'm recommending. It's something you have to do. And if you can afford the software, even better. And I know there's software out there for flippers too. If there's any flippers out there, and any software, let me know. But I do know that there are really cool like spreadsheets and things like that where you can keep track ongoing of like different expenses and things like that if your investors want to know. Because we are a business. If you're going to be consistently raising capital, you need to be a business. You need to be the professional, the expert, right? So that, boys and girls, is my 6-step framework. So I know that was like a ton of information. So if you need to, I will have this replay up tomorrow. You guys will be able to watch it again and take notes if you'd like. And you can always email me, reach out to me. I love helping. I love answering all your questions. And before you leave, make sure you click the follow button below so that you can follow my page, and that way you will get notifications every time we go live, which is every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week, I think I'm going to have an exciting guest, which is cool. So it is another expert who is extremely experienced with JVs, and they'll talk a little bit about the business, how they got joint venture partners, and how they scaled their portfolio to like an insane level. Just a really impressive person. It's a secret for now, so stay tuned. That is it, guys. That is a 6-step framework. It is all about building up your expertise, branding yourself, and knowing what it is you have to offer, having a really good system to finding JVs, be creative, think outside the box. The process from booking the meeting to getting them to sign on the dotted line, knowing all the legal paperwork that goes into it, and then having a really consistent follow-up that takes you to the next level as not just an investor, but a true investment business. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for tuning in and supporting. I really appreciate it. I'll be back next week with my guest. It might be on another night. So stay tuned, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted through social media when and where that will be. But yeah, have a great night, everyone. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.